Echolalia. What is echolalia? Hello parents, caregivers and educators. Today I would like to welcome you to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. And today we are going to have a practical guide to help us to deal with children who are experiencing echolalia. So we are going to discuss quite a lot of things, actually 8 things. 1, what is echolalia? 2, why do children echo? 3, types of echolalia with examples. 4, how to support an echolalic child. 5, practical tips for immediate echolalia. 6, practical tips for delayed echolalia and scripting. 7, working as a team, parents, teachers, and SLPs. And 8, which is the last one, common myth and how we can be able to help our children who are having echolalia. So imagine a child who repeats everything you say. So you tell the child, do you want water? And the child tells you, do you want water? Or a child walking around saying lines from cartoon, what they have watched from the TV. And that is going to help us understand what is echolalia. So this repetition of words, phrases, or sentences spoken by someone else or heard in the environment is what we call echolalia. So let me define it again. Echolalia. It's the repetition of words, phrases, sentences spoken by someone else or heard in the environment. So it is very good for us to understand the difference between echolalia and also a child just repeating words. So there's what we call normal, because all children imitate. All the kids will always repeat words. For example, single words like ball, ball, ball. Phrases like bye, bye, thank you. This is normal and usually fades after age 3 when their own language grows. But what happens if we realize that now there's a red flag, and so we need to get support? For example, let's think of this. If the child is older, like now the child is 3 to 4 years, and he's doing the repetition of words, which is very, very frequent, and the child is not using much of their own spontaneous language, at that time we can say that is a clinical feature, whereby now we need to get a medical support, or maybe we need a speech therapist to help us. So echolalia is very common in autism, but also it appears in other conditions. For example, language delay, brain injury, and other developmental conditions. But in autism, echolalia is often not just coping, but it's a way of communicating, it's also a way of processing language, and it's also a way of calming down. Like, the children use echolalia to calm themselves down, yeah? So echolalia is often the child parent's best way to use language. So it's going to be very, very important for our parent to be able to sit down, observe the child, maybe even take your child for assessment to be able to understand whether is your child just having speech delay, is it autism, is it any brain injury, or why is your child having echolalia. It is very, very important to know that, because that is the first step that would help you to know if you need to call a speech therapist to come and help you, or it's just something that can go away after age 3. Why do children echo? So before we try to reduce echolalia, we must ask, what is this echo trying to do? Because echolalia can have many, many functions. So it is good to also know, am I supposed to make my child stop echoing? Or is echolalia having any function? Because it doesn't mean that echolalia is very, very bad to a child. No, 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 no. After you have an assessment, you're able to know, why is my child having this echolalia? So number one, first function of echolalia is to communicate. Example, if you ask a child, do you want to go outside? And the child says, go outside. Sometimes, simply this could mean, yes, I want to go outside. But now the child doesn't yet know how to answer. So they echo the important part. They analyze the situation and try to understand the child's response. So what you need to know is just analyze. Know what is your child saying. What is your child telling you? So you've asked, baby, do you want to drink water? And then the child tells you water. Sometimes it means maybe the child wants to drink water. And that's the first function of echolalia. But another example, if a child says, like let's say, for example, you ask the child, do you want juice? And the child says, juice, juice. This echo may be a request. Maybe the child wants to say, I want juice. But now because they are not able to do that, the child repeats, juice, juice. So let's understand that echolalia can have many functions, and one of the functions is to communicate. Another function, or function number two, is to process language. Sometimes a child echoes a question because they need time to understand it. For example, if you ask a child, what do you want to eat today? The child may say, what do you want to eat? What do you want to eat? Remember, that child is not able to give you a quick response. And so the child is processing the language, which is taking time. And that's why maybe they are repeating the whole phrase and they are rehearsing the sentence, like repeating an exam question in their mind. So if we give them a few extra seconds, they may then say chips, or they may even point. So that shows they have heard what you have asked, they have heard your question, and now they're showing you what they want, yeah? So they may fail to answer you, to give you the correct response that you expect, but they can be able to point and say, or even not say, they can just point chips, or they can even say chips, yeah? So it's always good to also give your child time to observe why they are having an echo. Function number three is to self-soothe. Some children repeat favorite lines when stressed, excited, or tired. So let's say your child is upset or very overwhelmed, and he's walking around the house, moving from corner to corner, saying, Coco Melon, because that is what maybe they have been watching from a TV. Or maybe the child is saying, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. This is like a verbal rocking. So we call it a self-calming mechanism. Taking these away without other coping strategies can make them more distressed. And then you might see your child now throwing tantrums, and you start saying, oh no, I don't know why today he's behaving like this. I think today he's not in the mood. But remember, he was doing the echo because he was soothing himself. And now because you have stopped it, so now there comes a fight, you see. So function number 4. And remember, we're discussing functions of echolalia. It's to play, enjoy, stimulate themselves. There are kids who do echolalia just because it's a way of playing. It's just a way of making fun, like they're enjoying something and they want to stimulate themselves. Some children genuinely enjoy repeating language, the rhythm, the sound, and the memory. For example, singing adverts. Let's say we're having an advert about Blue Band, and then you see a child just singing the same song every day. Maybe it's just making them feel good about it, and they just want to keep singing. And maybe they're repeating a funny YouTube line, or maybe they are quoting a cartoon. Yeah. So this is a kind of language play, or we also call it stimming. Function number 5, we have to build language. Yeah, there are kids who have echolalia because they are trying to build language. That is why when we are having our speech therapy sessions and we see a child who is trying to repeat words after us, we are usually very encouraged. We know that we are just about to get the words, we are just about to learn how to express ourselves. Yeah, so some autistic children learn language in big chunks and not word by word. That is what we call Gestalt language processing. So they don't learn I want juice separately. Like you can't teach it as a simple word like I, and then you go to the word want, and then you go to the last word juice. So for them, they learn the whole phrase. Do you want some juice? Later, they start to cut and reuse it. Want some juice? Want some juice? Want some juice? So the child wants something, but now he's repeating it. And then later, he comes and learns now a word juice. Yeah, so kids learn language in different ways, and it is very, very important for us to understand so that we can be able to support them with the necessary support. So this is called Gestalt language processing, and echolalia is actually a stage in their language development. So at this point, echolalia is often meaningful. If we understand its function, we can respond in a way that helps the child progress. So we have 4 types of echolalia, and the first one is immediate versus delayed echolalia. So we are going to define them. So to support a child, it helps to know the main types. So when we talk about immediate echolalia, the child repeats right away. Do you want to sit? And the child says, do you want to sit? That is called immediate echolalia. When we talk about delayed echolalia, the child repeats later, minutes, hours, or days later. In the morning, the child sees rain and says, looks like stormy weather, a line from a cartoon. And at night, they suddenly say, next time, on. Next time, on. That is now from a TV show. So this is delayed echolalia, like it was raining yesterday and now the child is saying today. Or it was raining in the morning and now the child is saying it in the evening. So the original phrase may be from parents, teachers, cartoons, songs, or advertisement. The second type of echolalia, we have functional versus non-functional communication. Functional echolalia simply means the echo is being used to communicate something. For example, if you tell your child, do you want a break? And the child says break. This child simply means, yes, I want a break. Non-functional, or maybe we call it self-directed echolalia, seems not directly aimed at someone else. For example, child walking in circles, quietly repeating, open the door, open the door, open the door, which he has seen from a movie and not looking at anyone. So he's just talking by himself, moving around the house, and he's not even looking at anyone. So that is what we call non-functional echolalia. It may still be useful for the child, for example, calming, thinking, or feeling, but it's not directly communicating with anyone. So it's good to also observe that because that will help so much. And the third one, we have exact versus meditated echolalia. Non-meditated or exact repeat words for words. So if a child says, do you want to play outside? And then you as an adult, you're also saying the same thing. Do you want to play outside? So meditated, child changes something a little. So the child may say, play outside. Or, I want play outside. So meditated echolalia is often a good sign. The child is starting to edit and own the language. And then the fourth one, we have from people versus from media. So we have this kind of echolalia whereby it is person-based. A child repeats what parents, teachers, SLP, or siblings say. And then the one that is media-based, a child echoes cartoon, YouTube, songs, adverts, and etc. So both can be powerful material for therapy. Now let's discuss how to support an echolalic child. Rule number 1, don't treat echolalia as bad behavior. Rule number 2, observe, pause, and interpret. Rule number 3, build, don't block. Rule number 4, reduce pressure, reduce questions. Rule number 5, respect echolalia as a coping tool. So now let's discuss practical tips for immediate echolalia. The practical tips. Strategy number 1, model the answer. So you say, do you want juice? You model as a parent, model as a teacher. Tell the child, I want juice. Do you want apple or lemon? So you can say, I want apple, I want juice, I want lemon. Keep reinforcing to help this child understand the responses they're supposed to give you. Strategy number 2, forced choice instead of open. For example, open questions like, what do you want, are very hard. But if you look at the child, you make sure there's good eye contact, and then you tell the child, car or ball, car or ball. So the child is supposed to choose between the two, and the child is gonna tell you, this is what I want. Or maybe you have swing or slide, swing or slide. So the child is also supposed to choose between the two and chooses what they want. Another one, milk or juice. And then you can gradually try to fade to it and say, what do you want, milk or juice? So you keep adding, yeah. And then you can model the answer like saying, milk please, apple please. Strategy number 3, close, fill in technique. So you can make it fun, like maybe you're building blocks, and you can say, ready, set, and then you leave it as a blank. So you want the child to say, ready, set, go. So you keep modeling that, and the child gets used to it. Strategy number 4, change questions to statement. So don't keep on asking the child questions, and you know that the child is struggling to answer. So you can just make it like sentences or statements. Instead of asking, what is this? Tell the child, this is a car. Then give the child a chance. Car? Can you say car? You reduce questioned, triggered echolalia, and replace it with simple labeling. Strategy number 5, choose pause point, home version. This is a structured way to help your child answer instead of echo. So you're going to teach your child the yes and no strategy. So you're going to show the child 2 big cards, and then you can say yes or no, yes or no. And then you can ask the child, do you want chocolate? Yes or no? What I've seen, and from past experience of the many students I have worked with, most of the students, they learn how to say no before even they learn how to say yes, because they want to defend themselves. So they might now start using no in everything. For example, do you want to drink water? No. Do you want to shower? No. Yeah, it happens like that. So if you see it, just know it happens, and it's also a good sign that they are starting to own the language. Strategy number 6, differentiate between reinforcement and between just making the child repeat. and shape better responses. It is the work of the parents, the work of the caregivers, the work of the teachers to shape better responses. And also strategy number 7, reduce your own talking. Parents and teachers often overspeak. But now the best thing you can do when you're dealing with a child who has echolalia is to have shorter sentences to slow the pace, your pace. Like you don't speak very fast, you take your time to give the child time to meditate and, get the answers that they need to give you. And also one idea at a time. You can't just teach 5 things at the same time, one idea at a time. That will work. For example, you may tell the child, we're now going outside, and then after that, we'll come inside and have lunch. Okay. It is overload. Yeah. But you can try by saying outside, have lunch, then back in the house. That is less language, less overload, and less echolalia, So it is you who can support the child. So as a parent, you can do this, play detective, and also you can teach a useful replacement script. 3, you can script fade in. 4, you can use their favorite media as a bridge. 5, functional communication training. 6, always respect scripts used for self-calming. Allow it for some time. 7, use visual support or AAC. 8, accept and add meaning. So working as a team, parents, teachers, and SLP, this is a very good team. Echolalia is best supported by a team approach. Role of parents. Number 1, parents are supposed to help the child with, keeping an echolalia diary, date and time, what the child said, the exact words, what was happening before, your guess, and what does that mean. Then you're supposed to share that with your SLP. SLP is your speech therapist or speech language pathologist. And also you're supposed to share with the teacher so that everybody is tracking when the child is doing certain thing. And then 3, practice the same strategies at home, modeling, offering choices, and script feeding. So the role of an SLP or the speech language pathologist is to assess the function and the type of echolalia, identify if the child is likely a Gestalt language processor, design therapy goals, increase functional phrases like help, more, stop, break, and then also shape meditated echoes into flexible language, expand understanding, receptive language, train parents and teachers in modeling answers, using fill-in strategies, responding supportively to scripts, and when parents, teachers, and SLP use similar phrases and visuals, progress is faster and more stable. That is why we always say, working as a team when you're supporting a child with any delayed milestone, that is going to really, really help. So there are so many myths that people say about echolalia. For example, we must stop echolalia as fast as possible. That is not true, because if you do that, you're punishing your child. And also myth number 2, echolalia means the child doesn't understand anything. No, that is not true. Sometimes echolalia shows partial understanding. Myth number 3, if I introduce pictures, my child will never talk. That is not true. Echolalic kids can use AAC or speech gadgets together very well, and they can be able to achieve their language successfully. And let's think of questions that many parents may ask themselves and reassurance. For example, will echolalia go away? That is the first question that many parents are asking. Many children move from pure echoes, meditated echoes, to original phrases. Yeah. Echolalia may become less frequent and more purposeful over time. So some autistic adults still echo sometimes, especially when tired or anxious. That's okay. So the real goal is, can they communicate needs, thoughts, feelings in some way? Another one, should I ignore echolalia? Not completely. Not completely. Yeah. Another question many parents are asking is, echolalia my fault? Do I talk too much? Do I talk too little? No. Echolalia is not caused by bad parenting. It is related to how the child's brain processes the language, and sometimes because of neurological conditions. And another question, how do I know if my child is improving? This is the things you're supposed to observe to know that if your child is improving. For example, echo becomes shorter. Child adds a new word. Child uses the same phrase in more context. Child starts using a replacement script. For example, the child can start saying, I'm hungry, instead of a cartoon line. Child points, shows, or uses pictures together with speech. And the last one, celebrate every small win. Together, we can make a difference. Your willingness to learn, whether as a parent, educator, therapist, contributes to a more understanding and inclusive world. By seeing echolalia as meaningful rather than meaningless, you are advocating for neurodiversity and supporting authentic communication. And as we have always been saying, every child deserves to be heard in whatever way they speak. Thank you so much for waiting, for being here all this time, and looking forward to meeting you next in our next video. Thank you. Thank you. Remember to like, subscribe, and share this video with other parents who are in need of it. Thank you, and bye-bye.